हाँ कर लो. Hello everyone, a very logical day to all of you. So here we are with the first editorial of July 27, explained here with a few words, a few difficult words. Yes, we have that today. So Manipur hour, this topic has been going on for the last, say, about 10 to 15 days, and I hope you have been reading this also in the editorials and in the rest of the newspaper. So the point here is that you know what the matter is. You can understand the other person's opinion about whatever is going on, and in this way you will be able to come up with a central idea of any article that comes your way. Let us see what we have in the reading part today. So the no confidence motion against the Narendra Modi government and parliament is evidently meant not to topple it. The numbers rule out that outcome, but to hold it to account for the continuing crisis on its watch in Manipur. It is welcome. So what is welcome? This no confidence motion that they said in the first sentence. It breaks the impasse that had built up since the start of the monsoon session on Manipur, with the government stonewalling and the opposition insisting on a PM or nobody else debate. मतलब या तो PM के साथ करेंगे debate या तो किसी और के साथ नहीं करेंगे. It amounts to the same thing, but you can understand the meaning of the word impasse and stonewalling here. Stonewall means a wall built of stone. That means an obstruction. You can't just go through it, right? Impasse means you're not able to pass. So you're not able to go ahead or move ahead. वो हो जाएगा. So both the words would mean the same almost. So of course the government claimed it was ready to talk. Union Home Minister Amit Shah wrote a letter to leaders of the opposition in both the houses, urging bipartisan cooperation and dialogue. Urging bipartisan cooperation, इसका ना opposition को बोला उन्होंने कि देखो तुम भी cooperate करो और dialogue करते हैं, मतलब बात करते हैं, debate करते हैं. With the Home Minister's purported white flag. White flag stands for peace, कि ना शांति. Purported means that was the purpose. You can understand it again from the word only. But that flag was fraying before it could possibly fly. तो fly होने से पहले वो fray हो गया. ठीक है, अब fly को fry के साथ relate कर दो. तो fly तो हो नहीं पाया वो flag, मतलब peace talk या white flag वहां तक पहुंचा नहीं. Or that means if you can understand it figuratively, this flag and the sentence of the white flag is only a figurative sort of thing. Right? So the basic meaning of this would be that when he said, the Union Home Minister said that, okay, see, we would be together coming up with some discussion and also finally cooperate. ऐसा करने से पहले ही, मतलब ये बात उन तक पहुंचने से पहले ही, right? The white flag was fraying. That means it was going into tatters क्योंकि बात का कोई meaning नहीं रहा. Right? So Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke outside Parliament on Manipur, but was silent on the opposition's legitimate demand that he speak inside it, and the government was unwilling for a discussion under a rule that entailed voting. The PM continued to target the parties of the opposition, taking the name of the newly minted opposition front, that is India, INDIA, with a host of unsavory others like the Indian Mujahideen, East India Company, and PFL, even as the Home Minister invited them. So these were arguably not the best conditions for the government and opposition talks on Manipur, right? So you can see the main point would be this last sentence, which gives the author's opinion that, see, this or the conditions surrounding these talks were not a very conducive or favorable one, right? And there was one more line here that they wanted a discussion and the government was ready to come up with that discussion. It was ready to talk here. So if we come up with this as the main point and the last sentence. And of course, it is welcome, Maladata. The no confidence motion was welcome The government claimed that it was ready to talk, but according to the author, the conditions were still not conducive. Now, this political stalemate has been a terrible letdown. The crisis in Manipur has gone on for nearly 3 months, with over 100 dead and thousands displaced. The video of the May 4 sexual assault by a mob of 2 women in the village in Kangpokpi district has brought home to the entire country the horrific toll it continues to take. Right? So, horrific toll. Brought home ka matlab? To make somebody understand, or drive home bolte hain ya to brought home bolte hain. That parliament is in session, but this most urgent issue could not enter the house, that a larger collective reckoning was held hostage to a short-term confrontational politics, did not speak well of the responsiveness and responsibility of parliamentary politics and institutions in a moment of crisis. This complete sentence, starting from that parliament, so that parliament is in session, matlab, wo parliament session mein aisa nahi hai. That this is a different construction of sentence. It says, let's see, when the parliament is in session, it should be working on, or it should be discussing or debating important matters, right? The parliament being in session, still the important matters were not discussed and all these small things were given no importance. So that is not right. Okay, now read the sentence again. Let us do that. So that parliament is in session, but this most urgent issue could not enter the house. Matlab house mein discuss nahi hua. That a larger collective reckoning was held hostage to a short-term confrontational politics. Matlab choti politics pe unka discussion hua, but the larger matter that needed proper discussion, that needed more attention, that was not brought to the surface. So collective reckoning means like calculated computing. ये होता है कि I reckon मतलब सारी चीजों को ध्यान में रख के, if I am able to understand something, that is what I am calculating. That okay, fine, this should be the matter, this should be done. And so, in spite of all that, they know, everybody knows that this is the most urgent topic of discussion also, and yet to act also. But then it was not done. So what was taking place there was only parliamentary politics and institutions in a moment of crisis. So this, what was happening in Manipur, is a moment of crisis. What is happening is a moment of crisis. But then what they are doing is only coming up with a confrontational politics. मतलब आमने सामने opposition ruling party एक दूसरे के लिए बस बात करें कि देखो तुमने ऐसा किया, इसने ऐसा किया. But then that should be kept apart. And they, according to the author, there should not be a discussion on these things, small things, but then they are responsible for coming up with this matter of Manipur being discussed properly and steps to be taken. So all this intensity is understood by the sentence. I am going to read it again, so kindly follow if you have not understood. That parliament is in session, but this most urgent issue could not enter the house, that a larger collective reckoning was held hostage to a short-term confrontational politics, did not speak well of the responsiveness and responsibility of parliamentary politics and institutions in a moment of crisis. This, after all, was a time for parties across the spectrum to set aside the hostilities and noise and participate in the difficult search for peace and resolution. ठीक है, इसका मतलब अभी जो टाइम चल रहा है, जो मैटर चल रहा है, this should be the most urgent one, you can say, right? So they had to set aside the hostilities and noise, unnecessary वाली जो बातें कर रहे हैं उसे noise कहते हैं, और hostilities मतलब एक दूसरे के खिलाफ खड़े रहते हैं हमेशा. हमने अभी कुछ recently words किए हैं. At loggerheads also we had understood, and rivalry and all that, we have done many words related to hostilities. But then they needed to participate in the difficult search for peace and resolution. So it is time for opposition to ask questions and for the government to attempt to answer them. And at the very least, it is the cue for people's representatives across the parties to tell the people of Manipur that they can see and hear them, that they stand with them in the period of suffering. हम तुम्हारे साथ हैं, ये message मणिपुर के लोगों तक पहुंच जाना चाहिए, and they should be able to, the parliament should be able to come up with a proper decision that is best for Manipur. So they need to debate or discuss that thing. And now because that motion has been passed, it is a time or it is cue for these people to do something concrete, right? So if I mark the most important point here would be, we have this short term. जो हमने line 2-3 बार पढ़ी ना, you can just understand that what they are dealing with is only confrontational politics, and it is not the right thing to be done right now. And what is required is that they should set aside this noise and hostilities and stay with the people of Manipur. ठीक है? Why? Because they need to show their responsibility and responsiveness. ये दिखना चाहिए. ये नहीं दिख रहा है, that is what the author said here, पर ये होना चाहिए, that is his meaning. That can be inferred. So now that the no confidence motion has been admitted by the Lok Sabha Speaker, all parties must make themselves heard on Manipur. मतलब उनका मणिपुर के बारे में क्या कर सकते हैं, what they can do, what the government can do, what steps are to be taken. All this can be discussed now because they are, it is open for discussion now. So accountability must be fixed. So now, according to the author, he says that what all could be done or should be done. Accountability must be fixed. यहाँ पर भी उसने कहा must make themselves heard, and a way forward formula. There should be a concrete way, as I said earlier. एक concrete step होना चाहिए, कुछ resolution होना चाहिए कि हाँ अब हम मणिपुर का matter इस तरीके से handle करेंगे. It should not be only politics. It is the country, it is the people that matter there. So there are times in a nation's life when parties and players are called upon to rise above the narrow. Right? This is a time जहाँ पे उनको ruling party, opposition party, अभी elections आने वाले, हमें एक appeasement of the minorities के लिए ये करना है, हमें वो करना है, ये इसको reservation दे दो, उसको ये कर दो, ये सब छोटी बातें हैं, इन सबको हटा के they should rise above it. Because all these things that they are doing just for the appeasement of the people, this is the narrow thing, right? This is a partisan thing. उसने कहा था ना, above the narrow and the partisan. Partisan मतलब biased होना, तो biased नहीं होना है अब. This is what the author is saying, that they need to come up, they need to come above all these mean things and think of the people of Manipur, think of the state, think of the nation, and that is how they'll be able to come to some concrete result or resolution to be taken about an action or what is to be done. So there are times in the nation's lives when parties and players are called upon to rise above the narrow and the partisan and respond in a more encompassing ways. Encompassing का मतलब होता है taking all the things together. ठीक है, वैसे encompassing होता है like surrounding also, ये भी हो सकता है, पर सारी चीजों को एक साथ लेके and then they need to come up with some proper response. And this is the moment government and opposition must not miss. In the parliament, Manipur needs nothing less. That means, what does Manipur mean? It needs a proper action to be taken, not by a single political party, but together the country should do something of its ailing part. मतलब अगर पूरी कंट्री को एक बॉडी माना जाए तो मणिपुर उसका एक ऑर्गन है, एक हिस्सा है. Now, if one part of the body is ailing, right, it is being affected by something, so you don't just cut it away. You need to work. The complete body has to work for resolving that ailment, right? So this is what the author says, that Manipur needs nothing less. तो उसे एक joint effort चाहिए, सबका एक साथ होना जरूरी है. यहाँ पे अगर politics आ जाती है बीच में, so then the matter is going to go out of hand in that way. So now is the time that the parliament has to act. This is what the author says, and I hope you have understood this much. So we'll just check on the main idea. So crisis in the state needs all parties. So crisis to hai say, that was given there. And then of course it needs all the parties, the government as well as the opposition to speak up. ये काम करना है, fix accountability, ये भी काम है, and find a way forward. So I've just marked find a way forward, because अगर एक रास्ता मिल गया, इसका मतलब they have come up with some responsible work, right? So in vocabulary, yes, we have a few words. Frame का what we can write is like ऐसे कहा था, जब frame हम अगर एक cloth के लिए frame use करेंगे, तो it is like बिल्कुल ना चिंदी चिंदी हो जाना, इतना ओवर यूज ओवर वॉन्ट जो होता है क्लॉथ, राइट? So the fray would be like in threads or tatters कह सकते हो उसको हम, right? तो fraying would be in tatters. तो वो उसने व्हाइट फ्लैग दिखाया था, तो व्हाइट फ्लैग उड़ने से पहले ही वैसा हो गया ना, बेकार हो गया. Impasse is a gridlock or a deadlock. You can use the word gridlock also. Right? Again, stalemate would mean the same thing. ठीक है, stalemate यानी जहां पे एक obstruction आ जाता है, आगे बढ़ नहीं पाता है, वैसे ही stone walling भी है. Right? Obstruction, you can't move ahead. ठीक है, वैसे stone walling would be an obstruction or a dead end. Dead end वैसे impasse होता है, but I am keeping these three things, three words together. Even this stalemate as well as stone walling, तीनों का मीनिंग हमने एक ही साथ करना है. डेडलॉक, ग्रिडलॉक, ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन, डेड एंड. और अगर हम इम्पैसे का यूज करते हैं तो then there's another word that is cul-de-sac. Right? Purported, as we saw in the sentence only, it is the purpose. You can understand it from the word only. तो जो intention था, जो purpose था, वो. Reckoning is computing or calculating. Encompassing is surrounding. Taking all the things together, ये भी होता है. Right? All including, all inclusive कर सकते हैं. समझ में आ जाएगा. Above the narrow and the partisan का मतलब होता है to go beyond. ऐसे ही समझ लो. Otherwise, above the narrow and the partisan, I explained it to you. Hope you have understood everything now. So not a very difficult, yes, 2-3 questions could be there on say assumption or inference based. इसमें से आराम से समझ सकते हैं. Argument वाला question अगर आता है इसमें, तो then you will be able to understand what is the argument of the author, or which of the following would be like supporting the author's argument or weakening the author's argument. क्योंकि author का argument क्या था, जो paragraph का central idea है, और central idea क्या था, that the opposition as well as the ruling party should come together and take a more responsible step in the solving of the problem in Manipur. If this is what you have identified as a central idea, then definitely you will be able to do all the CR questions based on such a passage also. Right? Come on. That's all for today, and thank you, and have a very logical day ahead. See you tomorrow.